You know that feeling, right? You decide you're going to break a bad habit, you go all in, you're super motivated, and then a few weeks later, you're right back where you started. It happens to all of us. But what if I told you the problem isn't your willpower? What if it's the strategy itself? Well, today we're going to look at a completely different way of thinking, a powerful and, believe it or not, incredibly simple Japanese system for making changes that actually stick. So, let's just ask the big question right up front. Why is this so hard? I mean, we try the crazy diets, the brutal workout plans. We swear this time is going to be different. We have all the best intentions in the world, but somehow those old habits just find a way to sneak back in. So what are we doing wrong? This one sentence, this right here is the key. It was said by a mentor to a man who was, well, the perfect example of the struggle. And his story shows us exactly why that all-or-nothing approach so many of us take is almost guaranteed to fail. And, more importantly, what we can do instead. So let's meet Christopher. For years, this guy had tried and failed to lose weight. You name it, he tried it. Low carb, gym memberships, getting up for morning runs, and nothing ever stuck. He'd gotten to that really dangerous place where he'd just sort of accepted it. He started believing that this was just who he was, that he couldn't change. And then came the moment he just couldn't ignore anymore. He was outside retrieving a ball for his son, and he bent down, and he literally could not get back up. His legs just didn't have the strength. His neighbor had to come over and help him to his feet, all while his 9-year-old son just stood there, watching. That night, he knew. Something had to change for good. So completely desperate, Christopher goes to see this mentor, a man named Dr. Yamamoto. And he walks in there expecting the usual speech, right? He's bracing himself for a super rigid diet, a crazy exercise plan, a whole list of things he can't do anymore. He was basically ready for a fight. But that is not at all what happened. Dr. Yamamoto's instruction was so simple, it felt insulting. Drink 1 glass of water every morning. That's it. Nothing else. Christopher was just confused, maybe even a little angry. He had to lose over 50 kilos. How in the world could a single glass of water possibly do anything? What Christopher didn't know was that this seemingly bizarre device was based on a philosophy called Kaizen. See, our brains are hardwired to resist huge, drastic changes. It perceives them as a threat and it hits the emergency brake. But by making a change that's so ridiculously small, you kind of sneak past the brain's defenses. You make the first step so tiny that it's basically impossible to fail. And that's how you start to build trust with yourself again. And if you want to see the real power of Kaizen, look at this number. It's kind of mind-blowing. Getting just 1% better each day doesn't sound like much at all, but when you compound that over a year, you end up almost 3,800% better. It's exponential. That tiny, daily promise is the first domino in what becomes a massive chain reaction. So, after 2 weeks of just drinking that glass of water, Christopher had built a tiny foundation of success. He'd kept his promise to himself every single day. And only then did Dr. Yamamoto introduce the next small step. He said, I just want you to put half the usual amount of food on your plate. He could still go back for seconds, but he had to wait 20 minutes first. And this brought in another key idea, Hara Hachi Bu. It's this Okinawan practice of eating until you're about 80% full. See, it takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to actually tell your brain, hey, I'm good down here. By just waiting, Christopher discovered that most of the time, he wasn't even hungry for seconds. He was learning moderation, not deprivation, and that's something you can actually stick with. Christopher was starting to lose weight, which was great, but Dr. Yamamoto pushed him to ask a much deeper, more important question. The how was working, but to make this last a lifetime, he needed a powerful why. Losing weight, as it turns out, wasn't the real goal. So what was? And this brings us to the heart of it all. Ikigai, your reason for being, your purpose. And Christopher realized he wasn't doing any of this just to be thinner. He was doing it to see his kids grow up, to one day walk his daughter down the aisle, to be there, really be there for his family. And that purpose, that became his fuel. And that kind of fuel is way more powerful than motivation, which always runs out. So 3 months go by, he's lost 14 kilos, he's feeling good, but then the inevitable test comes. Thanksgiving. He's surrounded by family, there's a mountain of food, and the social pressure just wins. He overate, he felt terrible, and that old familiar voice of failure came roaring back, telling him he'd blown it and he might as well just give up.
But Dr. Yamamoto offered him this incredible new way to see it. He said, "You didn't fail, Christopher. You stumbled." Think about that. A stumble is just a momentary loss of balance. The journey keeps going. A fall, that's when you stop moving completely. That's when the journey ends. The only question that matters is, what are you going to do tomorrow?
This beautiful insight comes from Wabi-Sabi, which is the art of finding beauty in imperfection. This journey is never, ever about being perfect. It's about being consistent. One imperfect day doesn't cancel out 90 good ones. And this idea, it just destroys that all-or-nothing thinking that trips so many of us up. It replaces it with compassion. And that leads us to the final piece. Gambaru. Perseverance. It's that quiet strength to just get back up after you stumble. The morning after Thanksgiving, Christopher did not feel like it, but he got up, he drank his glass of water, and he went for his walk anyway. That is Gambaru. He endured that temporary feeling of disappointment so he could stay on his path. So, by putting this entire system together, Christopher's progress became slow, yeah, but it was unstoppable. I mean, just look at the timeline. The way it came off so consistently because the process wasn't a punishment. It was gentle, it was forgiving, and it was built on one small daily win after another. And this quote, this reveals the ultimate goal of this whole thing. Over time, it stopped being about effort, and it started being about his identity. He wasn't a fat guy trying to be healthy anymore. He was simply a person who takes care of himself. The good habits became automatic because they were just part of who he'd become. So here it is, the whole 5-part system. Your Ikigai is your why, your purpose. Kaizen is your how, those tiny 1% improvements. Hara Hachi Bu is your guide to moderation. Wabi-Sabi is your permission slip to be imperfect. And Gambaru is your strength to just keep going. Together, they create this amazing framework for life, not just some temporary fix. Okay, so let's bring this back to you. What is your glass of water? Forget the grand plan to completely overhaul your life tomorrow. What is the one ridiculously small thing you can do? Maybe it's doing one single push-up. Maybe it's meditating for just 1 minute, or reading 1 page of a book. What's a first step that is so small you literally can't fail? Because that tiny step, it's not really about the step itself. It's about keeping a promise to yourself. And that one simple act, when you repeat it day after day, becomes the first brick in the foundation of a whole new identity. The question isn't whether you can change your entire life tomorrow. It's, can you take that one tiny step